Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to We Win with Kurtis. Thanks for tuning in once again. My name is Kurtis Austin, and I will be your host for this hour, this next hour. Before we get started, I wanted to just take a couple of minutes to give a little information about who I was prior to being on the show here. I had been in automobile finance for a number of years, actually over 20 years, and in that experience, I dealt with finance managers, finance directors, general managers, owners, etc. And now I never worked inside of an actual dealership. I've always been on the bank side. So I referenced that because of my experience was with establishing relationships with these individuals in these high positions at these dealerships. So I say all of that because I want to bring it to your attention that my primary sponsor for tonight's show is Star Imports. They are a unique buying experience automobile dealership. If there's a vehicle that you're interested in that you don't see on their lot, you can let them know what exactly you want, all of the trim, the color, etc., and they'll go out and get it for you. As a matter of fact, they are incorporating the boutique style buying experience in their car dealership. So I encourage you, from my reference, if you are looking for an older model vehicle, a newer model vehicle, come out to 4711 Auth Place, Star Imports, starimports.com, and they will assist you. You can tell them that Kurtis sent you, and you can take it from me through all of my experience with dealing with car dealerships. They will give you the STAR treatment, as the name refers. They will assist you in every area of every step of the process. So I encourage you once again to just come out to Star Imports in Camp Springs, right off of Auth Way. All righty. As well, we have a Toys for Tots drive being sponsored by the platform tonight, Vox Wave. So we're encouraging you to come out to 4711 Auth Place in Suitland, drop off toys for Christmas, coats, anything that you have gently used, gently worn, brand new toys, of course. We are collecting these things to give to Toys for Tots by the December 20th. If you're in the area, please stop by and just drop off a brand new toy so that we can help another family. All right, so we're going to get right into it tonight. I have a great friend of mine, as you can see here. We've got a special treat for you all. Henry's Soul Cafe, if you guys can see that. Some of the best banana pudding. We've heard many stories about Patty's pies, but I think we've got Patty beat right here locally to the DC metropolitan area. We have my good friend in the house tonight, Mr. Jermaine Smith. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm great, man. Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure to be on this show. It's an honor.
Absolutely. I appreciate you for coming out, man, and blessing us with your pie. Did you bring a knife?
I didn't bring a knife. I knew we didn't want to cut it on air, because then we would be sitting here eating.
Yeah.
Having the opportunity to talk as we want to be informed.
Right.
So, with that being said, let's get into it.
Absolutely. So once again, man, I appreciate you for coming out. Jermaine, now, you and I have been friends for a number of years. In fact, we attend the same church. Our kids have grown up together. In fact, our daughter had babysat your kids a couple of times.
Yeah.
So I know a little bit about you. Mm-hmm. I would just like for you to take a few minutes to talk about yourself. Now, I also know that you're not a guy that likes to be out in front per se. Mm-hmm. But I'd just like for you to introduce yourself to the viewers. I think that they would be impressed with your story. I'll kind of open it up just to let you all know. Jermaine is self-employed. He's got this great line of sweet potato pies. He's a restaurateur. He does a number of things. We'll talk later about some of the things that he's doing in the community. However, right now, I just want to get a little bit of information about you and what got you going as an entrepreneur.
Well, so my entrepreneurship goes back to, a generation with my dad. Of course, it's Henry's Soul Cafe.
Okay.
It's named after my dad, in which he started the first restaurant in 1968.
Oh, wow. Year I was born.
Okay, cool. In DC on U Street. And so that store is still standing today. My father has since passed.
Oh, wow.
Back in 2014. But so I was privy to have the information kind of hands-on, seeing, what it took to be an entrepreneur, to run your own business,
right.
On a small scale. My dad's from a small town in the South. High school dropout, moved to DC to, get away from that small town and kind of, make a life and a better living for himself.
Sure.
And so, with that being said, a lot of hard work was put in by him. And, he opened a little curry out that became, a DC staple. But he owned clubs, he owned things like that.
Okay.
So now, fast forwarding to myself, my first business was actually a communications company.
Oh, wow.
It was a communications company, started in D.C. back in 1992. I was fresh out of high school, and it was, when I say communications company, back then our communication was pagers.
Pagers, yeah.
And so it was named Smith Communications, and we sold pagers, in which, back then they afforded us the opportunity to do our own billing and really form a small company as a subsidiary of some of the larger companies.
Sure.
And so me being, on the forefront, a lot of young friends and things like that, that was my market. That's who I sold to.
Sure.
That company grew quite fast.
Really?
In
Wow.
which that company actually paid my college tuition.
Awesome.
And so my parents were in the position to pay for college tuition, but I had a lifestyle that was, as my dad would say, hey, listen, if you can drive that kind of car and you can wear those kind of clothes, you can pay for your own college tuition.
Okay, all right.
And so with that being said, that was
what you did.
Well, it was kind of the fire that, I'm the type of person that any entrepreneur, real entrepreneur, is the type of person that you are competitive, you are diligent, you are, for lack of a better word, stubborn.
Okay.
So, that was my challenge. I will pay for my own college tuition. So
right.
I started out, I went to Montgomery College.
Okay.
Montgomery County campus. I went there for 2 years, actually like a year and a half.
Sure, okay.
Transferred into Howard University.
Okay.
And so, I've always been the type to see the angle. So in order to transfer into Howard University, you had to transfer into the School of Business. Now let's backtrack a little bit. So I went to H.D. Woodson.
High school.
H.D. Woodson High School in D.C. was the start of what introduced me to, you back then you would hear people say, well, I want to be a businessman. I want to be, I'm a major and back then the thing was business administration. But what does business administration mean?
Sure.
Nobody knew what it meant. It was business, but upon going to H.D. Woodson Senior High School was where I found this thing called marketing. And marketing was the caveat to who I really was. I could identify people and what they needed and how they needed and so forth and so on. And so it really like when that high school introduced that to me,
that was your focus.
That's what I ran with.
Wonderful.
So, I was at Montgomery College, and then to transfer into the School of Business at Howard, you needed a 2.5. I'm giving a little nuggets for those people that want to get where they're trying to go, and you don't always have to take the road that's given. So, of course, I wanted to transfer into the School of Business, but in order to transfer into the School of Business, you had to have a 2.5 grade point average,
Okay.
and 25 credits. But to transfer into Howard School of Fine Arts, you had to have 15 credits and a 2.0.
Oh, wow.
I had the 2.0. I had the
Didn't have the
credits.
credit.
I ain't had the 2.5 to get into the School of Business because I was grassroots. I was
Product of DC?
selling these pages. I was working at my dad's restaurant or whatever the case may be, and I honestly never had the inclination that I was ever going to work for anyone.
Wonderful.
And
Let me stop you right there. So that's a mindset.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So interestingly, because last week on the show, we had Marco Price Bay, who didn't grow up with his father because his father was incarcerated.
Okay.
And unfortunately, Marco had found himself in similar situations that his father found himself.
Mm-hmm.
But later on, they both realized that it was a mindset that needed to be changed in order for them to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you're saying you had that early on in life. Is that because of what you saw from your father, or did you and your father have regular conversations about this is what you should be doing?
We had more conflict.
More conflict.
And conflict because my father knew how hard it was to run his own business and so forth, so on.
Mm-hmm.
So he preached not necessarily entrepreneurship, but he preached going to school and getting a job. So his ethic was derived from how am I going to feed my family?
Okay.
Mine was derived from how do I make what we do easier?
Okay.
How do I transform what you do and make it easier?
At 17, 18,
Right.
You were thinking like that.
At 17, 18.
That's awesome.
At 12 or 13, I was thinking like that.
Okay.
My mindset was, the original restaurant, we sold burgers, we sold fries, we sold chicken, and I'm looking at, okay, we selling everything that McDonald's selling. We selling everything that KFC selling. Why can't we be as large and as powerful as they are?
Sure.
So when I would bring ideas to my dad, it was always no. And so it's cool, it's fine. And so, so fast forwarding again, going back to the Howard situation, when I got to Howard, and I realized, okay, I need to, I got to get into the School of B, but I had to get my grades up and so forth, so on.
Right.
So it was what gave me the mindset to not ever to want to work for anyone in life.
Right.
Was I was in the DC public high school system. They have what's called a half-a-day program in when you get into 12th grade. So when you get into 12th grade, they have the program that's set that says, okay, you need to go to work when you get out of half a day. So my job was already set. I'm going to my dad's restaurant.
Right.
What I'm gonna do, but the counselors knew who I was. They knew that, okay, if you get out of half a day, are you really going to work or are you going to your dad's place? But you know what? Above and beyond that, let's give you some reality of what it's like to really be in the work field.
Okay.
So my first interview I go on is a colleague of my dad's that I didn't know where I was going. I just show up and I walk in and there she is, Miss Marcia Griffin.
Okay.
She was one of the first caveats that owned and was able to bring a distributorship of MCM here, if you remember back in the early 90s.
The clothing line.
MCM bags, MCM, she was the first caveat here to even sell those personally.
Okay, wow.
So boutique, and so we, I sat down, did them, and she was like, this is really not going to be for you or whatever. So I didn't get that job.
Okay.
So then the next thing they sent me on an interview at a law firm. So I went to the law firm, I got the job, and in that law firm, it was, it wasn't a lot of us in there, and the powers that be weren't us.
Okay.
There was one of us that was a lawyer, and the office was ran by, black office manager by the name of Barbara Ennis. She's one of the biggest inspirations because during that time, they fired her. And she had started when it was just one lawyer, and then it became such and such and such and such, and,
Sure.
And so they fired her. And they said, we don't need an office manager. And then, a week and a half, 2 weeks later, the white secretary that was that of one of the other partners became now the office manager.
Okay.
When that happened to a young kid at the age of 17, it showed me real life. I grew up real quick.
Right.
And I realized that I never want to be in that position where something is taken away from me that I rightfully earned.
Right.
And so,
no fault of your own.
Right. And so I started my own company, and so I started the communications company, and I had fun with that. I made a lot of money and was able to pay for college. And then I met a lot of people, a lot of influential people, and I was always the type of guy always learning from others' mistakes and so forth and so on. So it put me in positions that, and food put me in position that I probably would not have been in.
Wonderful.
So with that being said, I, out of being a young guy, 23 years old, I was kind of, by this time I'm 23. And, the communications company is now becoming not only pagers, it's cell phones. And well, with the cell phone transformation, there was no opportunity for us to make residual income. You could only make money off the sale.
The sale, okay.
So now you hustling for the sale, but you're not making any money on that bill every month.
Right.
So, it was phasing out. I knew food. I had some money. I said, I'm going to open me a restaurant. Just like that. Maybe 3 months later, we were open.
And that was?
That was Henry Soul Cafe. We've been open 20 years now. So 23 to now 43. And that just flourished into a lot of other things and other things that I do that just have been, but it all started, with food that opened up other doors to, now I manage nationally known comedians.
Oh, wow.
I work with R&B artists. I work with NBA players. I work with NFL players.
You're in a management role with these?
Management role in a lot of them, and then the restaurant business is not, I can also, don't get it twisted, I can cook. I can cook, I can do my thing.
We're going to find out tonight.
Right, well, that speaks for itself. That's over 1 billion sold.
Oh, so, really? Wonderful. When did you get into doing the pies?
Well, the pies were started by my dad. So that was just something that became the stapler of the restaurant.
Okay.
So he called it back in his day, he came up with the term home of the sweet potato pie. So that has really just transformed into what we're known as. So we have 3 locations. We're at 17th and U Street. We're at 5431 Indian Head Highway. We have catering locations. We have another brand called the Rolling Rib that's in Upper Marlboro.
Oh, that's you. Okay.
Right. So we have different brands but you'll see the sweet potato pie in all the stores. And so that was just being an entrepreneur is I think people have made it out to be fashionable.
I agree with that.
It's not fashionable.
I agree with that.
It comes from the heart first, and then it's a lot of hard work. And so when I hear people talking about being a boss and this and that, you're not a boss until you're responsible for somebody else's livelihood.
Wow.
Until you're responsible for somebody else's life.
Right.
If you out here doing your thing, you working a job, you paying your bills, you're the boss of you.
Right.
That doesn't make you a boss.
Right.
Because everybody has those same responsibilities.
Right.
Now, when your responsibilities turn over into every decision that I make can impact every employee that I have.
Real quick, since you mentioned that, I'm not sure if you are familiar with the gentleman in New York who just committed suicide.
I heard about that, and I wanted that so not to be true.
Yeah.
The guy that started Golden Crust.
Yes. The beef patties had 120 locations.
Right. I so did not want that to be true.
Yeah. Right. From what I understand, he was an awesome man.
Great guy.
He was great to his employees. He had an episode on Undercover Boss.
Yes, he did.
But then I read later that he had committed suicide because of tax implications. And the amounts that he owed the IRS apparently were just He couldn't handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Is now obviously when you talk about being a boss and responsibility, all of that kind of comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I'm not, I don't agree with taking the easy way out. Suicide to me is the easy way out. Then
Right.
it's just not, in my mindset to do. But I don't know where people are. But when you're talking about responsibilities for someone who is listening and contemplating going into entrepreneurship, it's important for them to know everything that comes with it.
When people ask me about, wanting to start their own business and so forth, so on, the first thing I ask them is, what is your purpose?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you starting this business?
Mm-hmm.
If money is your first priority, you don't need to start a business.
Mm-hmm.
If you aren't doing, so watch this, any business that you have should be to better someone else's life and make an impact, and you will reap the benefits of what you've done to help that person.
That's awesome.
So you have goods, you have services, you have businesses that aid and abet other things.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, if your business is just for you, then you don't need to be in that business.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you want to have a clothing line, if your clothing line is so that you can have your name posted on this person, that person walking around the street, but let's go back to the basic necessities. Necessities is food, clothing, and shelter.
Mm-hmm.
So if your necessity is to clothe people,
mm-hmm.
we ain't worried about the name. We're not worried about, I want to clothe people. I want to put clothing on people's back. That's my first.
Right.
Then, now, your heart is right.
Right.
So once your heart is right, you can do whatever you want to do. But if your heart's not right, if your heart's not in it, if you're doing it for the money, so watch this. It says that statistics show that 90% of all restaurants fail in the first 3 years.
Okay.
Well, 90% of restaurants fail in the first 3 years because of a few reasons.
Mm-hmm.
First reasons are you never had a love for cooking. You never had a love for feeding people. You never had a love for nourishing someone else's body. So therefore, when the money didn't come, or you weren't able to pay the bills because the money wasn't coming, or you wasn't able to live the lifestyle that you wanted to live based on the road that you took, you took the easy way out.
Right.
The easy way out was, I went and got me a job, I'm making more money, or I went and started this, or I went and started that. And not just the restaurant business, any business. So your heart wasn't right. You did it for the money.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? The money gonna come. If your heart is right, the money's gonna come.
Sure.
If you have a purpose. Like my first purpose is, there were weeks when I didn't take home any money. There were weeks when I took home good money.
Sure.
There were weeks when I paid my employees and I didn't have a dime.
So
out of 50 years, going on 50 years, my dad never missed payroll.
Wow.
I took on that same responsibility of making sure I never missed payroll.
Right.
Every employee that has ever worked for me, every employee that I've ever had, every person that has ever stepped foot and put on a Henry Soul Cafe shirt has never not gotten payroll on payroll day on time.
Wonderful.
When they were supposed to. Whether I had it or not, whether it had to come out of my personal bank account to pay them, I made sure they were paid.
Right.
That's responsibility. That's boss.
Right.
Until you're doing that, you're not the boss.
Okay, so I'm hearing a few things. It sounds like there is a level of integrity and character that you're bringing to your position as boss, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I hear in my travels, businessmen, business owners doing what they have to do to make the sale, maybe compromising their integrity and or their character. Do you obviously it's in you, so can business be done without compromising one's integrity?
You can't compromise.
You can't?
You can't compromise your integrity.
To be successful.
The minute you start to compromise, then you have to take a close look at yourself. Like you can't, okay, it's like it's like that you are cheating someone and you purposely do it. Because you're just going to go down a road of finding the easy way out. You know what I'm saying? Now, watch this. It's our job to make sure the wheels keep rolling.
Sure.
And so, like people will ask me, and I'm gonna keep it 100 as 100 can be. I didn't come on this show to fake and front and
Please don't.
do all that, and that's
right.
not what I do.
Right, exactly.
But the reality of it is, like when we do, when the government, for instance, raises minimum wage, mandatory minimum wage, well, that doesn't do anything for the people, to be quite honest and frank with you. Because as business owners and entrepreneurs, we're taught to adjust to whatever's going around,
to
whatever's going around us. So you raise the minimum wage. So and so with raising the minimum wage, you aren't teaching or giving people sound financial advice. To now you're making $2 or $3 more an hour, but what are you going to do with it? Well, for us on the business side, we have to adjust as well. So prices are going to go up because we got to adjust to the new pay rate that we got to pay people. Right. So if we don't make the price go up, well, what are other ways? And I'm going to call out some big company names. Haagen-Dazs. When was the last time you had a pint of ice cream? It's been probably
decades for me. Yeah.
Okay. But you know they sell pints of ice cream.
Yes.
No, they don't. They
haven't
sold a pint of ice cream since 2009. It looks like a pint, but it's 14 ounces. So they cut you back.
So it's smaller then.
It's smaller, but they still sell it as a pint. You still looks like a pint, but you're only getting 14 ounces of ice cream.
We've been bamboozled.
In order to meet the price point of $3.99, of which they need to sell it for.
Is that like Subway when there was that campaign that someone had actually put a ruler to their Subway and said it's not a foot long?
They're all games. Well, here's the thing. You got to do what you got to do to adjust, and still keep the public happy. So when we talk about integrity, we talk about there's truth in integrity. So if I'm giving someone 14 ounces of ice cream, you have to say it's 14 ounces of ice cream.
Right.
Now they're not calling it a pint. They just putting it in a pint. Looks like what a pint is, and looks like a pint. It's a pint.
Right.
But if I read the label, it's 14 ounces. And not to get off on subject, but you talked about integrity, and those are some of the things that you have to address. You have to look at.
And that's good to know.
Right. When it comes to businesses being integral, if you will.
Right. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Because we do, and I know we're going to talk about as we make the segue to what we do in the community, what I do in the community. But that piece of integrity goes along with that.
Right.
Spend your money where you know your money is being used well.
Right.
It's not just for me to feed my family. It's for me to feed other families around me that patronize my business.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So there's several funerals that we've done because we're in the community that we didn't charge.
Okay.
Now this is not a plug for people to call and say I need help. It's just saying what we've done, and we'll get into what things that I've done, and I'm not the bragger or boaster or whatever, but you want to talk about it, we're going to talk about it.
Yeah. So in the second half, we'll take a break here in about 2 minutes, and on the other side, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about what you're doing in the community, how you're giving back through all of your successes, because it sounds like you're doing a lot. First and foremost, I want to shout out to DC Public Schools. Right. So there's misnomers out there about who they're producing and so on.
The public school system is a great school system, not just DC, but PG.
Sure,
they have excellent programs.
Definitely.
But what we have to do is empower the parents to send a product to the school that the schools can work with.
Uh-oh. You're stepping on some toes, man.
The parents got to send a product because I know some things that's going on in the schools, and it all starts at home.
Definitely, I agree with that.
It starts at home first. So you got to send a product that you really want to see, turn into something.
I believe that.
The best investment we can have is investing in our kids.
I believe that.
Your kids will take care of you.
That's
so
right.
if you invest in your kids, your kids will come back and then give you everything that you asked for. True story. I have taken this business way farther than way further than my father could, right? But through what I did and through what I was able to do, it funded a lot of the things that he wanted to do.
Oh, wow.
So he invested in me. He gave me a roof over my head. He gave me morals and values to use and go out and bring back something to him by just being a step forward man. Never smoked, never drank, never seen him with another woman. Was with my mom till the day he died. Wonderful. So forth, so on.
Wonderful.
Those are things that you cannot buy.
Right.
Those are things that are learned by seeing.
Right. So let's pause right there. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. In the end, we win with Kurtis. Cool.
Good job, man. Good job.
You're going to stop interrupting. All righty, we're back. Before we get back into a great conversation with Jermaine Smith, I wanted to make sure that you all knew that we are accepting phone calls. However, we're doing it a little bit different from last week. We're going to allow phone calls the last 15 minutes of the show, and that number is 240-719-2560, or you can send me an email, wewinwithkurtis@gmail.com, or winwithkurtis@gmail.com, and I can address your question or your comment live on the air. As well, wanted to run down some of the shows that you can also find here on Vox Wave. Mondays 11 to 1, you have the Kim Show with Kim. 5:30 to 6 p.m. you have Sacred Arts and Much More show with Abina Scott. The Roland Grimes show with Latanya Mosley from 7 to 8 p.m. In the End, We Win with Kurtis from 8:15 to 9:15. Tuesdays, we have the Say That Then show with Kevin Hughes from 11 a.m. to 12:30 with his new co-host, Imani Ellis. We also have on Tuesdays, My Spa, Bath, and Body with Margaret Harris, 7 to 7:30. Heartbeat Congo Hour with host Heartbeat from 8 to 10 p.m., and that's on Tuesday. Wednesdays, we have the Cosmic Queen, Building Black Love, 6 to 8 p.m. with Jessica Winters Martin. Also on Wednesday, we have Night Live Set with host Kevin Hughes from 8 to 10 p.m. There's some more Thursday, Friday, and Saturday that I'll get to shortly. Just wanted to remind you guys that if you are interested in purchasing a vehicle, new or used vehicle, you can reach out to starimports.com or come out to 4711 Off Place here in Camp Springs, Maryland. Boutique style shopping, whatever it is that you're interested in, they can help you. They have that they'll give you that personal touch. So just stop on by. As well, we have boxes here on the set, collecting toys for tots that we plan to give on December 20th. So got a lot going on here, but most importantly right now, we've got Mr. Jermaine Smith, owner of Henry's Soul Cafe. He's mentioned that he manages comedians. Mm-hmm. Can I say it?
Yeah, you can say it.
Earthquake is comedian that he manages.
Yes, Earthquake is actually a very good friend of mine. And
right, because he's a D.C. native.
He's a D.C. native, D.C. public schools.
There you go.
Went to Ballou High School. So I manage Earthquake and work along with him quite diligently. We travel the world, the country together. I have a movie that came out earlier this year called Secrets.
Okay.
That's on BET now.
Is it? Okay.
I produced Earthquake's last movie, which was These Ain't Jokes.
Okay.
And you can get that you see that on Showtime as well as Netflix. Another movie we produced on Netflix through Earthquake was From the Outhouse to the White House.
Okay.
We have 2 more movies coming out next year, 2018.
Okay.
As well as some sitcoms. Got a lot of stuff going on.
Wonderful.
A lot of stuff going on. So, yeah.
Wonderful. That's awesome. As well, let me say hello to my Atlanta family. Keith, how you doing? You asked me to shout you out. There you go. That's my big brother in Atlanta.
Cool.
So what are you doing in the community, Jermaine? I hear all of this stuff that you're doing, going, around the world, traveling around the country, basketball players, comedians. Mm-hmm. What are you doing, let's say, to give back?
Let's change this. What am I not doing?
Okay.
And I'll say you can never do enough. I'm not doing enough.
Okay.
But with that being said, I am doing something.
A lot.
I am doing a lot. Well, what some may perceive as a lot. So this is Christmas time. We do an annual toy drive. If you went to my Facebook page, Jermaine Smith, or my Henry Soul Cafe page, you'll see the truck loaded with toys. I mean, multiple Henry's vehicles loaded from front to back.
Oh, wow.
With toys. My wife gets involved. So we got toys for that. That's during Christmas time. So, let's take it outside of Christmas. What are you doing outside of Christmas?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody does the coat drive.
Right.
Cold.
Mm-hmm.
We do that too.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing when it ain't cold?
Mm-hmm.
When it's not Christmas? Okay?
Right.
So we do the food drive. We give away the meals when it's Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you doing when it's not Thanksgiving?
Right.
That's when we get down to the nitty gritty.
Gotcha.
So with that being said, there are a number of schools that we've sponsored with uniforms for the whole football team.
Oh, wow. Okay.
A number of schools that we've sponsored uniforms and things that the basketball team needed.
Okay.
Number of schools that we've sponsored. Where watch this. I'm gonna say that I personally sponsored by just going back and talking to the kids, letting them know that
that's good.
I was a kid in those seats that made it, and you can do it too.
That's
you
right.
know what I'm saying? Now, when you say made it, and I haven't made it like I want to make it, but I'm still trying to make it. But I'm coming back to show you that this is not where it is. This is not where, So and then on top of that, like I said, there are many funerals that people didn't have the money to bury their loved one that got killed, abruptly or, wasn't expected or whatever. And we chipped in, did our part.
Wonderful.
Multiple things that we do with the churches, aiding them in their endeavors and what they're doing.
Their outreach,
right,
sure.
Their outreach. Multitude of things.
Wonderful.
The homeless and like I said, not just doing when it's cold and not just when it's the holidays. It's it's an ongoing. They're homeless all year.
Right.
They may not be cold all year, but they're hungry all year.
Right. Right.
So there are multiple things that we do throughout the year, and not just the schools. They're young adults, and there are some situations where you try to give back, and people just aren't receptive.
Sure.
To I've made phone calls and didn't get a call back. And
but you're trying to give.
And I'm trying to give. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So, and so I tell anybody, like, a lot of people put a lot of pressure on, businesses that, what are they giving back? Are they giving back? And so, again, that's why I tell people, spend your money where you know your money is being used in the right way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not the only guy that sells soul food in the community. I'm not the only guy that sells soul food in the country. However, I do happen to be an owner of a soul food restaurant, but me, the owner, has the heart to give and to give back and to be in the community and make sure that kids are like, I'm the worst cashier. Like I am literally
you giving money away
because I'm up front. You know what I'm saying? I see kids coming. I'm giving away slices of pie and stuff like that. Like they'll tell me, you need to go to the back. This is a for-profit,
endeavor
business.
Here, right?
But I haven't always been in that position.
Right.
I haven't always been in that position
to
give away. But when I wasn't in a position to give away, let's say, quote unquote, things of monetary value, I've always given my time.
Sure.
Like I was going. This is a reality check for some. I was going back to the high schools when I was 19.
Oh wow.
When I was 1 year out, I was going back because I had my own business. And I was in college. So I was going back at 19 and 20, where I didn't have a lot of money to give, but I can remember at 19, I was giving away like $100 to, when I would go speak or whatever.
Sure.
Now I'm giving away $10,000 scholarships.
Okay.
But there's a growth process.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so I challenge people just to give your time.
Right.
It's not about the monetary value.
Yeah, this is off the subject, but it just dawned on me that earlier today I'm riding up Pennsylvania Avenue, and now that the leaves have fallen off the trees, you can see through the woods.
Okay.
And I saw a number of tents where people are living, and it just brought me back to the reality that, wow, this is real life stuff out here, and people are seriously in need. And just the fact that the leaves are gone now, you can see straight through, and it's
I'm
visible.
I'm a firm believer that if you have, most people have what's called smartphones now, right? There should be no reason you can't pick up your smartphone and go through your list, your people in your phone that you can call, and you can get enough money to do whatever you want to do as far as it pertains to helping people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like, it shouldn't be anything. If there's somebody in your Rolodex that you can't get $5 from to aid your mission. Right. But you have to be able to return that as well.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? But there's times, when there's just something you want to do or whatever, you may not have the $100 that it takes. You got 5 people, you got 20 people in your phone that you can get $5 from. That's what I want to do. They may call you for the same thing next time, but it's a way to make it happen.
Definitely.
You can't do everything by yourself.
Definitely.
You just can't. So the same way, your show needs sponsors to survive.
Definitely.
You need sponsors in your life to, you know what I'm saying? And if you don't have a particular mission that you can identify, you know, just to help, then just do something on an individual basis. It don't have to be the greatest thing. I had somebody try to check me one time on Facebook because they were talking about sponsoring a block party back, and I said, yeah, I'll sponsor it for a nominal fee, you know. And so the person was like, weren't we just talking about giving back? So I was like, okay, when was the last time you went back to your high school and just, you know, let a young lady see you, you know, because I think this person was a nurse or something. When was the last time you went back and say, hey, I'm a nurse and I went to this school or whatever? You can't check me.
Right.
You can't check me.
Because you're putting in the work.
Yeah, you can't check me, you know, because here's the thing. It's not about, it's also about who you give to. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
You have to believe in what you're doing. So every call that, if somebody is asking for donations and things like that, still has to be something that you believe in and something you believe in. We go to the same church. You have to sow into good ground.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? You're just not throwing money to any and every
That's right.
organization.
That's right.
You have to give it to the right organizations and the right.
There's a law attached to that.
There's some churches that call me that won't get that donation, because I get churches that call that have never had a catering from me, I don't see any of their congregation in there, but you want money from me. Well, how can I give you money if you're not giving me the money to give back to you?
Right.
So there are laws to it.
Definitely.
You know, a lot of people don't understand that, but it is what it is.
And hopefully our viewers do. So here we are, guys. Maybe 12 or so minutes left in the show. Here's an opportunity. If you have any questions for myself, want to make any comments, have any questions for our guest, Jermaine Smith, comments, you can call in at 240-719-2560. We've got about 10 to 12 minutes left before we wrap it up. So that's interesting, man. And I believe you, you know, that it's folks out here that just want to receive, right. and are forgetting completely about the first half of that.
Right.
You know, and so now here's what I know about you as well. Okay. You are a husband, committed husband, father, and business owner. How do you find the time to be that, as well as do all of the other things that you're doing? For a listener out there who, let's say, is not fulfilling his or her time at home because they're so committed to the business.
Well, you first and foremost have to prioritize, and so it's kind of a push-pull situation, because my family understands that there are, well, watch this. I'm gonna make this plain and simple. I stopped working for me a long time ago.
You stopped working for you a long time ago. Okay.
So everything I've done, I would say at least in the last 10 years, has been for them.
Okay.
I fulfilled a lot of my stuff. I done bought my cars. I done bought this. And I got me straight. How do I get them straight?
Right.
What am I setting up for them?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, you know, we get engulfed in what we are trying to do for ourselves. And remember, I went back to, I told you about investing into your kids, investing into your children, investing into your family, investing into what we need to know as generational wealth. Like, your kids should not have to start at the same point you started if, in fact, your point was 0. Right. You understand what I'm saying? They should start, if I start at 0, my son got to at least start at 10.
I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, you know, or whatever have you.
Right.
So, you know, that has to be instilled. Like, I stopped working for me a long time ago.
That's awesome.
You know, everything I do is for them. So now prioritizing that, putting into place, everybody has a need. So when you become, quote unquote, that boss, and you forget about your family at home, then obviously you're not a boss, because a true boss can handle multiple things. He can handle multiple areas, and he can delegate, and he can have, and like I said, you're not a boss unless you're paying somebody every week. You know, the same way like we go to church. You're not a pastor unless you have a congregation.
Right.
You're a pastor, but where's your congregation?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's only one aisle shopper.
Right.
I know this. I might get in trouble for that. I'm sorry, Al. I didn't mean it like that. But you know, if you see a kid walking down the street with a helmet on and a scarf, you're gonna ask him, "Okay, you're a race car driver. Where your car at?" Let's just be real. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's easy to camouflage this boss thing on Facebook and Instagram and shows like this. You got jokers gonna come on here and say they doing this and say they doing that.
Right.
I mean, let's be 100 with it. So for me, like I said, anything I do first and foremost is for them. It's not for me.
Good.
So family is first. Family is first, automatically, with a firm understanding that what I'm doing for them. So there are days when I came home and I'm beat. You understand what I'm saying? And they living in, you know, they got air conditioning, they got food, they chilling. I'm not mad with them because I went out here and bust my butt, and they living in the comfort of they living in the comfort because I did what I had to do to make sure. Like keeping it 100. There are too many women out here that's taking on the role of the man.
Come on, man.
You know, they gotta go out here and bust their butt. You know what I'm saying? And the men ain't doing what they supposed to do. You know, just taking charge. You know what I'm saying? Just and I ain't trying to be no male chauvinist. I'm not that guy that's saying women supposed to stay home or whatever. But man, you gotta go out here and bust your. But it ain't about how much money you make. It's about how much effort you put in. You know what I'm saying? It ain't about the dollar. Don't let the dollar come between you and your family.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Don't, you know.
That's a good word.
If you make the most money, that don't mean you treat her like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If she make the most money, don't degrade her because you trying to even the playing field. I don't know where this came from, but let me jump back to the other side. Just go somewhere else. But so back to that
topic for another show.
Right. So back to that. You know what I'm saying? Families first. You know, then my business. We got to keep that, you know, going and doing the right thing. You know what I'm saying? You know, there was a time when my house was in foreclosure.
Oh wow, okay.
Because I had to keep the business going.
Right.
With the and I can remember when that situation occurred, that when you know, because I tried to keep it from my wife or whatever, that what was going on financially or whatever, and it wasn't that business was bad. It was because I made some decisions. Remember I said decisions that will impact other people.
Right, yeah.
I made some decisions where I put so much of my cash money out, I couldn't keep up with what was going on in the business world, and it didn't come back fast enough. And so my house was in foreclosure. And when I did bring it to her, it was maybe a month or two out from, maybe 3 months out from being all said and done.
Okay.
And when I told her, she ain't flinch.
Now that is something that someone out there needed to hear.
Like she ain't like, but watch this. It was, you don't give up the business. Real bosses, real business, real entrepreneurs. You believe in your dream. That was my way of making money. I can't go out and get a job. I ain't even
wouldn't know what to do.
Like I ain't never been on interview who.
Right.
Like you understand what I'm saying? So I don't have that luxury of, okay, this ain't working. I just go out and find another job, whatever. This is so. And when I told her what was going on from a financial standpoint, she ain't flinch. She's like, I know you got it. It's all good.
That's all right.
You know what I'm saying? And to the point.
Hey, Thais.
Yeah. Hey, babe. And so you know when it was going on, and when you know it kind of hit home when your kids say, hey, we ain't been out to dinner in a while, Dad. When we going out to dinner? Like, you know, my restaurant was my grocery store. You know what I'm saying? That was my grocery. I was bringing home food. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's real talk.
Right.
I ain't gonna fake.
I appreciate it.
You know what
Absolutely.
I'm saying? So when that occurred, you know what I'm saying? And your kids look at you like, hey, we ain't been out to dinner in a while, and I'm like, you know, I can cook. But we ain't been out because that was something.
That's what they were used to.
You know what I'm saying? But those days are gone. Those days are gone. We go out there whenever we choose to.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? But so I'm not here to say that everything has always been gravy.
Sure.
And when you are an entrepreneur, when you own your own business, everything's not going to be gravy all the time. It's going to be some hard times. My house was in foreclosure. My business was good. My business, the bills was paid. I had to keep that paying to I just couldn't bring in enough money fast enough.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But now, to fast forward, my house paid for now. Now I had one house that was in foreclosure. Now I own 10 homes.
Oh,
I ain't
wow.
on here bragging. I'm just being real.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So you go from foreclosure to now owning 10 to now being a landlord to several. You understand what I'm saying? But it ain't always been that way.
Exactly.
And a lot
That's
of
the
people
process.
It's the process. It's the process.
And that is the gist behind the name for the show. In the end, we win.
In the end, we win.
Because we're going to have those struggles. We're going to endure. We're going to be faced with some challenges. But what's going to get you to the end is what you do in the midst of that storm. Now you got to be. You got to already have your plan. You got to work that thing until you get there.
Let me add to that. You have to see the end when nobody else can see it.
Right.
You have to see the end and what should be transpiring. And so watch this. I am a firm believer that there is no, and this is some of the first things that, like I said, I go back and I speak to the high schools and I speak to the colleges. I was on the board at Howard University, Eli Institute, Entrepreneur Leadership Institute. So I have a little bit of, accolade. But this was one of the first things I would open up with. By a show of hands, who believe in plan A? Everybody raise their hand. By a show of hands, who believe in plan B? Raise their hand. By the time we get to plan C, it's starting to trickle out or whatever the case may be. Watch this. I don't have a plan B. I don't have a plan C. If you sit down and you map out with real intentions,
sure,
a real plan.
That's right.
Plan B is your scapegoat.
Right.
Plan B is your this don't work.
That's your comfort zone.
That's your comfort zone.
Right.
So if plan A ain't working, readjust plan A. But it ain't no plan B. I don't have a plan that if Henry Soul Cafe don't work, I'm gonna open up Joe Blow's Seafood. If Joe Blow's Seafood don't work, then I'm gonna open up, and that's why we don't play those gimmicks and games. Like we don't do. I got a little bit of my hoods out there. We don't be. All right, bring it back. All right, calm down. All right, so look.
You got comfortable, man. It's a comfortable show here.
We don't play those games with what's popular. Is what we doing now.
Right, yeah.
We doing what we've been doing for 50 years. Since 1968, we still doing it the same way it's been done. Few things added here and there, whatever the case may be. But all these other jokers coming out with all this stuff here, and y'all buying into it. You look at the Food Network, and my show will be on the Food Network. They came and did a show on us.
Oh, really?
On one of it's going to be on Travel and Food Network.
Okay.
I don't actually know what show because they didn't tell us, because they said it was so good they're going to put on multiple shows on it. But to say that, it's like, you watch this stuff and from that standpoint, it's just like, junk when you see junk. You know what I'm saying? So when you see junk, it's like you look at some of these places and they got all this food piled on here, whatever. That's a bunch of junk.
Right.
That's a bunch of junk, and you got people buying into it. We do what we do. We don't buy into changing this and changing that. It is what it is.
I think we've got
So I think we got a caller.
Caller, yeah.
I struck somebody's nerve. I hope I didn't.
That's Reverend Al Sharpton.
Miss Al, I didn't mean it. It's a. Hey, listen.
Good evening.
Come a long way without a church.
Good evening, caller. You are on the line with Jermaine Smith and Kurtis Austin. Hello.
I'll write some of those jokes real quick. But
hello.
We back. We lost him.
Wow.
All right.
That's 2 weeks in a row.
Maybe that was Jesus, Al. On the main line.
She want to know where the bottles pie.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so we've got about 2 minutes left, if I'm not mistaken. So if you want to give the addresses again.
Okay, so the best address to give is this new thing we call the internet. And that can direct you to all the locations. So you can go to henrysweetpotatopie.com, and that's where you can get the pie shipped to you. but you can also just go to henrysoulcafe.com and it'll direct you to the restaurants. We have online ordering. You can call in. We have a catering department.
Good evening.
Yes.
Hey, you're on the air with Kurtis.
Okay. Where can I buy the pie?
We have several locations. If you're in the D.C. metropolitan area, because I know this show is global, you can go to the store we have on 17th and U Street.
Can I go to Walmart and buy that pie?
Guess what? I received that. By this time next year, you will be able to.
So,
But you can go to henrysweetpotatopie.com or henrysoulcafe.com, and we'll gladly ship them to wherever you are.
all righty. Thanks, caller.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Kurtis.
Wonderful. So we've got about a minute left, and
I'm going to send you a pie,
Al working out, man. Al working out every day.
I don't know where that came from, but Al, you don't have a church. But okay.
He Reverend Al.
Okay, Reverend
Zero
Al
minutes.
Sharpton without a church, without a congregation. I haven't seen him and Jesse.
All right, guys. So listen,
Okay.
we're gonna wrap this up right now. I've got probably gone over my minutes. I want to just run down the rest of the lineup. On Thursday shows, 12 to 1:30, we've got Say That Den show with Kevin Hughes. Fridays we have the Rush Hour DJ Drew, co-host Janique from 5 to 7 p.m. Not Playing It Safe show with Mike Kellen and B Anomaly from 7 to 9 p.m. Different Mind show with DJ Bam, 640. Co-host DJ Audrey Michael, 9:15 to 11:15. Saturdays, The Praise and Deliverance with Elder Thurman Gorman Jr., 11 to 12 noon. Sister for Sister Network, hosted by Peggy Morris, 12:30 to 2:30. And I apologize for reading quickly, but I think my time has expired. To Go Radio TV show with Kimberly Brown, 9 to 11 p.m. And then finally on Sundays, Tea Talk with Dr. Akita Pearson. Every third Sunday, 2 to 3 p.m., Real Talk 101 with Brad and Orlando, 6 to 8 p.m. So I appreciate you all for tuning in once again. I will continue to bring positive content that I think you would be interested in hearing and seeing and having access to. I thank God for my friend Jermaine Smith, who came out.
I was wondering, was the camera going to come back on me? Because it was on you that whole time you was doing it. I was wondering. I was saying, I hope it come back on me. But I'm glad you segued in. I was over here waiting real good and everything. I will be coming, man. This is what I do, man. I love.
Do you manage you?
No, I don't. But watch this. This is a true story. This is a true story. So you know for a fact, when you call me, what did I say?
Absolutely.
I'm gonna be there.
Absolutely.
That's the attitude people gotta have. In the win,
and I'll put it out there. I had two people slated for tonight's date. For whatever reason, neither of them came through. On Friday, I got the notice that my second guy who was supposed to be on tonight, he let me know we were in Marriage Made Easy.
Right.
And he sent me a text. But it's all good. So I know I've got resources.
And there are many guys that would be in my position that would say, man, I ain't gonna be the third. I'm the third person you call, and you want me there on the money. That's not how we prosper. That's not how we succeed. That's not how we become successful.
That's
you
awesome.
become successful by making yourself available.
Yep.
So, Kurtis here is doing an excellent job.
Appreciate it.
I love the platform. I'm glad that the cameraman did see justice and put it back on me for a minute. And I'm not trying to close the show or whatever, because you're doing an excellent job. But I was just wondering, because you did your intro and I wasn't on it. And then you did the other intro and I wasn't on it. And then you was doing the outro and I was like, well, if I ain't going to get on this outro, I'm going to have to figure out some type of way
to get
on the outro. Because I didn't want to take over the show. But I'm glad I was here. And you still on me?
Mr. Cameraman, we got all that. Is all that recorded?
That's what I'm talking about.
That's good. That's going to get the ratings right there.
The cameraman off the chain. Trust me, the cameraman off the chain. He hasn't touched the camera yet, but he got this little thing where he zoom in and do.
All right.
This show is off the hook. This is it.
My man. I appreciate you.
Thank you, man. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. I'll always come back. And as I
Anytime
told you
you want
before,
to.
as I told you before, I may
Yes, sir.
be on here in the early days, but I know 5-6 years from now, this is going to be a larger platform, and I'll be welcome back again.
Absolutely.
If I'm not, I'm going to call you out on it.
Oh, you better believe it, because in the end, we win, brother.
That's right.
With Kurtis.
That's right.
Good night, y'all.
Bye,
Thank you.
Reverend Al.